Chris, what's up? Oh, I can't hear. Oh, hold on. Let me actually. All right. Check. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can. Any echo or anything? Any echo or anything like that? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. We'll start in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be fun. You're my last episode of this year. So we're going to kick it off with a bang. For those watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. For those watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. For those already logged on, please say hi in the chat. I see you guys. Don't be shy. Say hi. Hello, Tonkia from Croatia. Chris, you bring out the world. You bring out some SEOs around the world.
I will play him.
What was that?
I am jealous of your hair.
Oh. Uh-oh. My little Yorkie's going crazy. Mike Ginley, hello. I see a lot more of you piling in. Don't forget to say hi and where you're from.
Yeah. Hey, time to get it started. No delay. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO. You will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO Video Show. Hey.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO Video Show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre De Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released within the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is Mr. Chris Nichols, the Senior Manager of SEO at Cox Automotive. Before we get started, I want to say hi to everyone in chat. Kobe, Ernesto, Beverly, Andrew, Bradley, Tonica, Mike, welcome to the show. And to everyone watching the replay, hello. And I hope to see you in the live chat one of these days. Be sure to stay till the very end to see some SEO humor with some Christmas music. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. What is a black hat's SEO's favorite food? Spam.
Google search plans to use Core Web Vitals as a part of the page experience ranking factor. John Mueller shows us how they measure this.
When it comes to data sources, we differentiate between field data and lab test data. Field data, also called real user metrics or RUM data, is collected from users over the course of about a month and is based on what they experience when viewing your site. This is a part of the Chrome User Experience Report, in short, CRUX. Lab tests, on the other hand, are generated on demand with testing tools in your browser or on a server using settings that try to approximate what users would see. For search rankings, we use field data as this is what your site's users have experienced over time. This makes the data more representative for your site, taking into account where your users are located and how they access your website. The Core Web Vitals metrics are then combined with other signals for search. We call this combination the page experience ranking factor. The additional signals are mobile friendliness, safe browsing, HTTPS security, and compliance with our intrusive interstitial guidelines.
Google stated Core Web Vitals would go into effect May 2021. How do you communicate this with your company? How do you get the leadership and the dev team to help out? Keith Goody of IBM shares some tips.
You've taken a look at your website. You've figured out what it's going to take to get something changed for the better. And you've sort of mapped out what is the ultimate benefit to us doing this. Now, if it's something like Core Web Vitals, it's not the benefit that you gain from it, but the benefit that you keep from your website. Because if you start losing traffic because you start losing ranking, well, then you're going to start losing revenue in most cases. So it's a matter of understanding the value of traffic and understanding the value of pages, and also even getting a little bit more granular and understanding the value of overall changes across the site. I always try to put together I try to take a look at everything that I want to accomplish, either from a technical or a content perspective, and put those into user stories and epics. And then basically taking those user stories and epics and plotting them out on a matrix I like to use, which is the sort of the benefit to cost ratio. So your y-axis would be the benefits. So in other words, what is the benefit in terms of traffic? And the x-axis is going to be the effort it's going to take to get this done. So break that into a quadrant, and your upper right-hand quadrant is going to be your, this takes the most time, but it's got the most benefit. Your lower right is going to be not a lot of benefit, but a lot of effort. So that's the area you stay away from. Mm-hmm. The upper left is going to be your great benefit, very little effort. That's going to be your sweet spot. Start there, work your way around the rest of the quadrants, and go from there.
I highly recommend everyone in the enterprise SEO space to get the conversation going now, because it takes some time for things to get executed in big companies. SEO is used in reputation management. Alan Rebinitz gives us a quick tip on what keywords we should target to combat negative publicity and reviews.
The good, they want the bad. And I think when you have those two and you understand that that's what they're looking for, then you have a way to come about it. If they're looking for bad, what can we do to get them to look for good, more good? Or what can we do to get them to look for something else that's bad, but not as bad as that? You know, how do we correlate and own that bad term? So like you'll see certain terms and keywords that are actually negative keywords about someone, like, if they've had negative reviews, it'll say certain things about it, like something that they did. So that brand name plus what they did or something like that. Right. So if the company starts to own that brand name and what they did, we have another route to get at that negative. So there's a lot of different factors of that.
In summary, rank for your negative search queries and flip the script. Matthew Woodward released a video on Google authenticity signals. Let's see how we can show Google how we are authentic.
Most people are completely ignoring Google authenticity signals. What do I mean by that? I mean giving Google what it wants so they know that you are an accountable person or business. Now, you may have noticed in search results that less and less affiliate sites and smaller sites are showing up, and search results now are getting dominated by bigger brands. They're getting dominated by real businesses and real people that are accountable. how can we add them? Well, I mean, first let's just look at the structured data as well. Sorry. In the home page here, we can see there's no structured data that says this is an organization or a company or anything like that. So as well as not publishing it in the footer, they're not publishing it in the structured data as well. Looking at the structured data of the Contact Us page now, the Contact Us page did display a phone number and partial address, but here we're not seeing that information shared in the structured data. So it's very important to add this information to the footer and to the structured data where necessary. Homepage, about, contact.
Structured data helps feed the machines, and it's becoming essential to include in our SEO strategies. David Amerlin, the author of a few SEO books, gives us his thoughts.
We know that there's more machine learning applied across search engines and across apps, and even certain specific CMSs are being tooled these days with a machine learning algorithm in the background so that they can seamlessly, with inverted commas, talk to other apps or other devices or other search engines. So basically, the information flow is going to get denser. And we will see it get broader. So the context in which we access information is going to grow. These things are given. So really the underlying question here, the subtext is, are we going to have better access to better information? And for that, still, we will need to do the hard work. We will need to basically do the heavy lifting, make sure that where we can, we are crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's, so as to help machines understand better what we do, because although they're smarter, they're nowhere near as smart as they need to be.
So how do we feed the machines? Through schema, topic clusters, and entities. And in this week's SEO Fight Club episode, Ted provides a December Google update analysis and found that sites optimizing with entities have seen a bump in rankings. Let's listen in.
Now, when we look at the shared Cora data, so with Cora SEO software, we have hundreds of users and they do thousands of reports every month, most of which are shared, and we anonymize that data and we report on it to our Cora community. So we get thousands of terms over a 2-week window, and we look at how the factors change across all those keywords. And what we generally find is relevancy, so the keyword matches, factor diversity, how many factors do you use in your pages, entities again, the Google result hot zones, which are like the title, meta description, URL, those things are the hot zones, headings. And then, of course, backlinks, which we know that's Google's patent is PageRank, so obviously backlinks still matter, and longer form content. We have some overlap on some of these, and wherever they overlap between the high CPC example and the broad across thousands of keywords example, those I'm really interested in.
Watch the full episode to understand his methodology. The link is in the description, so check that out. Sam O shows us how to use PPC to improve SEO.
So let's kick things off with the first use case, which is to find keywords that result in conversions. Not every keyword you bid on or rank for is going to result in customers. But Google Ads has a conversion tracking feature that lets you attribute an action on your website to a keyword. Go to the search terms report. And this report shows you a list of queries where your ad was shown to a significant number of people. You can simply sort the table by the conversion or conversion rate column and see which keywords are converting visitors or viewers into signups. All right, the next use case is to find keyword opportunities as well as pages that can benefit from on-page optimizations. To set yourself up for success, you can try bidding on keywords using broad match modifiers. Broad match modifiers ensure your ads are only shown for searches that include words you've marked with a plus sign. By using broad match modifiers, you can usually broaden your keyword pool without having to know the exact phrasing searchers are using. Number 1, new topics that are worth pursuing, and 2, long-tail queries you may not have optimized for. The next use case is to improve click-through rates on your organic search results. It's widely believed that a higher click-through rate can lead to improved rankings. But even if it doesn't, more clicks equals more visitors. Now, since search ads allow you to manipulate the title and description, you can try different versions of ad copy to try and find a winning combination.
Managing both PPC and SEO is something I always do. It takes out a lot of guesswork. It's about that time of the year where we start planning for our SEO strategy for 2021. Are you having trouble? Kevin Indig gives us 3 quick tips.
Yeah, I'd love to close up with 3 small things. So one trick that I learned is if you have a really hard time coming up with a strategy, one thing you can do is to look at all the tactics that you're executing and cluster them into groups, right? You basically tie them together, and that can help you to then see the long-term play and where it's going. And then you can recalibrate and say, is this really leading me to where I want, or am I just like hunting one best practice or one short-term goal after the other? A second thing you can do is to write your strategy out. Lots of great companies are doing this, like Google and Amazon. They have documents of several pages where they write down their strategy and what they're trying to accomplish. And that gets you away from a spreadsheet or from a list, which helps you to think about your strategy in a more coherent and concise way. And then the last thing is, even though you don't want to copy strategies from other companies, you can learn from the strategies of other companies and dissect how big companies set up and design their strategies, right? Like Google, for example, bringing their platforms together, like Gmail, YouTube, and Discover. That is a strategy. And then you can think about, how does it apply to your field? How does it inspire you and help you think about what you do and applying it to your case?
Speaking of strategy, our guest today is an SEO strategist, analyst, and leader, which brings me to my favorite part of the show. I encourage everyone to ask questions in the chat and comment during our conversation. Asking questions is the best way for us to learn. Let me go ahead and get things set up. Chris has been in the SEO industry for 10 years. He started in the e-commerce space for some nationally recognized brands that moved over into the automotive. He enjoys the technical and data side of SEO and loves how he achieves the goals together. When he's not working, he spends time with his family, mountain bike, and works with his puppy Spartacus on agility. Please welcome the senior manager of SEO at Cox Automotive, Chris Nichols. Chris, my man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. That was a great introduction.
Of course, every SEO that's on the show deserves that great introduction. And you know what's crazy? It's like I really wanted to get this show with a bunch of enterprise SEOs like yourself, because I mean I'm in that space and I want to get as much as of my counterparts out of the companies in. But I actually found out something that it is actually pretty difficult, because when I actually reached out to you, you still had to get approvals, right? Like it was something like how you had to actually, tell me about that. I'm curious, like how does that work? Because you were one of the few that actually got approved to be on the show. So I'm curious, like how did you get this approved, and what's the concept behind that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a large PR team, and we just want to make sure that we're not doing anything or saying anything that goes against company policy, trade secrets, things of that nature. And when you first reached out to me, I immediately emailed my boss at the time.
Oh yeah,
Can I do this? Yep. And he just said, talk to PR.
Yep, that's great.
And I think I had the approval in less than 24 hours, which was great.
No, that's totally awesome, and I totally appreciate it, because it's really hard getting some enterprise SEOs in here. I mean, if you look back at a few episodes, there's not many of us that are from big brands that are coming on the show, because it's like, and honestly, it's because they can't get the approval. So I mean, from there, that was actually a while ago too, right? That was like a few months ago, and again, I appreciate you coming on, and I want to get on to like, tell me about it. Like, okay, we want to learn like, how did you even get into the SEO field? You started about 10 years ago. I saw you were in e-commerce, and tell us like how your SEO journey started.
Yeah, so back in 2010, 2011, I was working for a company that had basically it was a warehouse space, and they had an e-commerce department which managed like Pepsi USA, Star Trek, a Dilbert store, things of that nature. And at the time, I was trying to actually get into IT. So I was doing all this studying around IT. There was a gap left from some of the people that departed the company. But the CEO at the time was like, hey, I want you to go up into the e-com department and be an assistant manager. So I did that. It was a great leap for myself, and little did I know the road that it would take me down. But I learned so much along the way. And I learned by doing the wrong things quickly.
Interesting. What are some of those wrong things?
Yeah. So my SEO at the time was a new concept to me. And my boss thought he knew SEO, but he didn't really know SEO. So it was about combing through Google data to find keywords or keyword stuffing, product descriptions. And I probably fit the word Pepsi glass in one description more times than sentences there were in the description itself. But back then it worked.
Oh yeah.
It increased. It did well. I was writing titles and meta descriptions, and we weren't really doing URL slugs. But we would use things like Adobe Bridge for images, and then we would embed metadata into each image, and then we would just keyword stuff that thing.
Oh, interesting.
And then put that on the website. Yeah.
Do you think that still works today?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, now, if you put like your copyright information in there, it's probably a good signal. I mean, who knows what Google can actually read, right? And they only tell us so much. So yeah, that was my start. I did e-commerce for a while. The company ended up getting dissolved and sold. And that's when I actually made the move over to dealer.com. That was in 2013. And then I spent 5.5 years there which is more of an agency side, right? There's the main dealer.com website, which is the B2B arm. But they really focus on servicing car dealerships and, just providing them those monthly services. So I was on that team, which grew from 30-ish people up to about 80 or so, or it's just a really big SEO team. It's probably like the largest in the country in terms of agencies.
Interesting. So, so dealer.com, that's part of is that part of the Cox Automotive umbrella? Of where you're at? And so, because I can see that when you progressed. So after that, were you like at the same time concurrently working on the other sites, or how'd you go on to like autotrader.com or kbb.com and any other .coms that Cox has?
There's a lot of .coms.
Are there? Is there?
There are.
Oh wow! Those are the only 3 I actually found. But tell us. I'm curious.
So when I started at dealer.com, I had my own book of clients.
Okay.
And I was still relatively green in the space. And I just latched on to somebody that, had more experience than me and learned from them and, progressed through there and, handled higher level clients. And then what happened was my boss from dealer.com moved over to enterprise, which is what we call, the Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader. About a year later, he came and he poached me. He was like, I want to pull you up. So that's how I made the move. Like my boss at dealer moved, and then I eventually moved as well, which was great. And I thought I knew SEO from an agency standpoint and from a business standpoint. And then when I got into enterprise, it opened up a whole nother world.
I can imagine, right? I mean, in the enterprise, just looking just last night, just kind of just seeing a site search of how many pages, we're talking about millions of pages, right? Like there's on these sites for KBB, or is it maybe KBB, or even autotrader.com?
Yeah, both.
Yes. Wow. So how are you even managing this then? I mean, are you tracking everything and just like Google Search Console, or like how can you even comprehend this? Like, tell me a little bit more about the team. Like how do you run SEO at a massive sites? I mean, we mentioned two. You can tell me a little more, but yeah, how do you manage all this, like the SEO processes and stuff?
Carefully.
Like how careful?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a challenge when you're talking about how, millions of pages in the index. But we do review our crawl logs, and we go after more head terms, I would say, things that have high search volume, and we want to make sure that we're delivering a client or a customer the most value when they hit the website, right? It's not just about getting them to hit do a visit and go through a bunch of pages, but we really want them to get the information they need in a way that's efficient for them. And when you come into managing something like that, you're talking lots of tools. Search Console is just one of them. I like Ahrefs and SEMrush, but there are some other enterprise level tools that help us out. So it's very much detailed. Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets.
Yeah, I love spreadsheets.
Well, that's
Give me an Excel document any day.
Oh yeah, so you just love looking at that data.
Yeah, so I'm a math nerd.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it really helped me out.
So when I want to take it back one step. I mean, when you moved up and you're learning all this, you learned from some mistakes and stuff like that. But was there anyone during that time, like you were actually like kind of learning SEO from, like on your site that you're visiting, and like, yeah, I'm curious, like how did you actually learn SEO?
That was a journey in and of itself.
I would love to hear it.
So once I figured out I was doing SEO like originally, that's when I started to just investigate things that I didn't know. So I would constantly watch Matt Cutts, and that's when I really started to read Moz a lot and go through even the beginner's guide to Moz. I think I read that in a night, but I invested a lot of my own personal time to really gain an edge, like Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, and all the other normal publications. SEO by the Sea. I love how technical that he gets there. I've read a lot of Google patents to understand how everything's working. And then one of my rituals that I started at dealer.com, every Friday, the first thing I would do in the morning is I'd grab a cup of coffee and I'd watch Whiteboard Friday. And then I would look for key concepts in there. And anytime there was something I didn't know or something I heard of, I would go home that night and I would try to learn everything I could about that one item. And then I would go back to work the next day and start implementing what I learned. And then I would go through that process for, even still, I go through that process. It's a never-ending journey.
Yeah.
SEO
is a moving target, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's been very rewarding, personally, for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the best way, right? Because we always hear like, if just like actually implementing things and just seeing the results and seeing, what worked and what not. But, I need to take it back and even, not very back, but let's go back forward to the team. We have Topher here asking, Chris, tell us about the team. Tell us, like, I want to know about your team. Tell me about the SEO team that you have out here.
Yeah, Topher, he's on the team.
Do you have just?
Hey, thanks, Topher.
So is it just
no,
you two?
no.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about the team.
No. There's more people, and we align our group with product.
Okay.
So different product teams have different needs, and we just make sure that they have an SEO resource. So it can be challenging to manage all of that, but we have a great team right now. Very smart, talented people, come from e-commerce, technical backgrounds, creative backgrounds, content backgrounds. So yeah, we're really looking forward to 2021.
It looks like you got your team over here. We got Melissa saying Chris is the best and a genius. Love working with him. And we have Kelsey, a DDC team represents. What does DDC stand for? Is that
Dealer.com.
Oh, okay, Dealer.com. And
we have a lot of acronyms.
Okay, does Cox stand for an acronym, or is that just a name?
No. That's the actual founder. His last name.
Oh,
Cox.
okay.
So, yep.
And then we have
Go ahead.
Oh no! I was gonna say I believe here Tessa on your team here too. It's like she says you're a rock star.
Yeah, she's my director.
Oh, there you go. Welcome everyone from DDC.
Well, so the way the companies are split, like DDC is a business unit, and then we have which is enterprise, which is there's some B2B stuff in there, but we have mainly AutoTrader and Kelly Blue Book. So she is my director, and then I work directly with AutoTrader and KBB.
Nice. Ask him about his Excel skills. Oh yeah, we know you're one of the biggest data nerds. You just said that. Why Excel? And you love math. Did you take them in college? Is that something that you go into? Tell us about why so analytical.
So I've always been into figuring things out myself, and then finding efficiencies and ways to figure those out.
Okay.
Like even if it's like taking something apart and putting it back together. With Excel and math, math was my best subject, bar none. I couldn't do anything else better. And once I learned the power of Excel, and I actually learned from somebody that is a manager at eBay. And for the longest time, I was like, what do you mean these if statements? What's an if statement? And so it just helps me get the data in a way that I want to look at it. And then I can manipulate it any way and build dashboards and summaries and executive reporting. My favorite thing to do with it is to build custom CTR curves.
Oh, interesting. I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
So what's the process here? And what are you pulling in? What are the metrics? I would love to hear that.
Yeah, so we would look at a site section, and then we would pull the data from GSC for the past, I get as much as I can, 16 months. But I pull it through a Google Doc. So I just use a plugin there to get all that data. And thanks, Melissa. So I get that data at the keyword level over time. And then I'm looking at average position and in the CTR for that. And then I map that out on a scatter chart. And then I start plotting it all out. And then I do some math, some standard deviations, or exponential linear items to really get it down.
You're losing me now.
It's hard to remember like what E stands for. It's like 2 point something. I have a document that I built that just does the math for me at this point. But you do that, and then you can come up with a confidence level. And your confidence level needs to be between 0.6 and above. 0.95 is probably better to work with. If you have anything below 0.6, then I'll start taking out some outliers. And then you can apply that math to positions 1 to 10 or 1 through 20 to get your CTR curve. And then you have it just for that site section. It's not like looking at a whole site. And then what you do is you can make your projections and forecasts based on that. Like if I move average rank X, then I know I can bring in Y traffic.
Interesting. So, I mean, we had a question here from Mike. It says, like, what plugin in Google Sheets is this? I mean, we got a response here. Is it Search Analytics that you're using for Google Sheets? What other plugins are you using? Is it just that you're bringing in your data? Just
that's the only plugin I use to pull the data.
And then everything's just all in your mind.
All in my head. Yep.
Those formulas.
And in an Excel document at this point.
Nice. Okay. I mean, from there, I mean, is there any other things that you do with Excel or like, data sheets that you pull in? I mean, the CTR, that's very important. That's, some great tips there. Thank you for dropping that knowledge bomb there. What are some other things you can give us?
So we do use Google Data Studio to an extent. We're just starting to, scratch the surface there and what we can do, but we're heavily looking at like Core Web Vitals, and with that going out, was it May next year? You just want to be ahead of the curve. You don't want to be doing any site maintenance around that or performance work, the day before it happens, or you just, especially at the enterprise level, there's a lot of teams involved to deal with performance and things that need to get done, and pulling tags in, or getting rid of unused JavaScript on the page, just to make sure that you're at a point that you don't see a sharp decline once Google finally rolls out
I got
that update.
So, I mean, that's a great segue to like Core Web Vitals. I mean, so how does your company, are you able to tell like your leadership and dev team like how important this is? Because I know sometimes it's, it's hard to tell that we need to get this done. Like, oh, Google says we need to do this, and they're like, oh, okay. I mean, but do you have the company buy-in on it, on optimizing for Core Web Vitals? And was it just pretty much, how'd you approach them, and how'd you tell them about it?
So our VP is actually an old SEO.
Oh, that helps.
So he understands the importance of SEO, and we have a lot of meetings, but it was an easy sell for us because we report straight up through the executive leadership team or the product leadership. We just essentially pull in a point of view, and we back it with data, what's going on, and we just send it up, present it to our VP, tell them where things are going, what we need to do, and make an action plan, right? It's always important when you want buy-in from leadership that you have an action plan and a timeline to complete that action plan.
Got it. Okay, so I grew up playing Punch-Out, and I see something on your wall over there. And, I'm a 90s kid. I was watching WWF all the time. I don't know if you know who Ted DiBiase is.
Yep.
Oh,
of course I do.
Okay, yeah, the $1 Million Man. Okay, I wanted to, so what is this Punch-Out thing you have in the back of your wall I see there? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's a piece that I acquired, a few years back. I was in Massachusetts at the time, and I was actually looking for an autographed boxing glove, either by Tyson or Muhammad Ali. And I got to talking to the store owner, and he was just like, hey, you look like you played Nintendo when you were younger. I'm like, I guess there's a look for that. So he was like, I don't have any autographed gloves, but let me show you this other piece. And I saw it, and it's autographed, and I just had to have it. And then we just started to negotiate, and and I wasn't done shopping, so I had to like hide this huge picture under my arm and like bring it to my car and put it in the trunk and go continue shopping. But yeah, it's a great conversation starter. It's probably my favorite piece that I have autographed right now.
Nice. We got a question that came in here by Kelsey. Do you think leveraging AMP in a greater capacity for mobile pages, product pages, blogs, would be wise to prepare for Core Web Vitals rollout, as AMP Dev is already focused on it? Are you guys working on? I mean, is Kelly, is the Cox Automotive sites working on AMP? Or are you guys using AMP? Curious.
Yeah, so we do use AMP for our editorial sections. We looked at it for others, but it's really hard to get that experience, the full experience you want your users to have in AMP. It's very complicated to actually get the work done from a dev standpoint. So it's just not something that we chose to invest our time in right now. We're focused on let's get the foundation right before this thing rolls out, and then we can start looking at different strategies.
Yeah, I can imagine millions of pages. That's crazy. I mean, so what is your relationship with the dev team? I mean, is it something like a user and epic type of thing where it's like, agile type of, we submit something like that? How do you get things done within, if it's technical, things like that?
Yeah, we definitely use an agile process. And there's, dev teams per product group and all that fun stuff. Won't bore you with those details, but we work directly with the product owners and the dev teams, to identify opportunities and then get those stories, more items written up in a way that they can go and execute on. And then we just go through a normal 2-week sprint cycle. And we just keep that backlog full, give them plenty of work to do, and keep marching forward.
You got Kelsey asking here, yeah, it's extremely restrictive, but seems to be where Google wants to push mobile dev. Obviously, at DDC, we're also not focused on AMP at all, but I'm curious about it for VDPs and blogs. What are VDPs? I'm curious.
Yeah, so Kelsey, he's at dealer.com. Hey, Kelsey. VDPs is a vehicle detail page. So if you go and you search for a car, you end up on a search results page, which has a listing of cars. And you click one and you end up on a VDP.
Okay.
And that's just of the specific vehicle. It has all the specs, the data, the pricing, and you can submit a lead to the dealership and whatnot. So that's what a VDP is. What was the last one in blogs? Oh, everyone knows what a blog is.
All right, let's see here. Melissa on the side note, Chris is extremely supportive and a kind manager. People learn a lot from him. Chris, you're well loved at the company. SEOs tend to be awesome people, right? We love Punch Out, right? And we love wrestling. And I see that you love baseball. I see a lot of bats back there. What's that all about? How do you have so many bats behind you?
Yeah, those are my baseball bats. I actually stopped playing last year.
Oh wait, you stopped playing. Well, I mean, were you in minor league?
Yeah, I was just in a men's league. Yeah, I'm not a.
I was like, wait a minute, did I miss that? I was like, I should have looked for an old baseball card.
I have. I played baseball just about my entire life, and when I get older, I wanted to continue doing that, so I joined a men's fast pitch wood bat league and played for a couple of years until I blew out my shoulder. And then last year I had to have surgery to reconnect my bicep tendon in my right shoulder. So that's where the bats sit. Most of them are custom because I just go all out when I do something.
What do you mean? You can customize bats? I mean, what do you mean by custom? Like the way you cut it? Like, how do you customize a bat? I've never actually heard that.
So you can customize the length. Well, there's the length of the bat. For me, I like a 33-inch bat, and then you have some say in the weight. Usually, like a 0 drop would be 33 inches long, and it would be 33 ounces heavy. So I usually use a drop 2, which would be 30 inches long, 31 ounces. And then you can pick the shape of the handle and the taper on the barrel. So, and that all affects like how you grip the bat, or it affects the sweet spot of the bat. Some bats are more for like power hitters. Some bats are more for, singles hitters. So yeah, there's.
Yeah, I saw that you're a big Boston Red Sox fan. I mean, I saw some photos that I saw of you and your kid, right? I mean, Boston Red Sox. Yeah. We got one more question here, and let me see here. Do you think? Yeah, by Kelsey. Do you think GA4 and AMP will provide deeper SERP insight, Google Search Console integration, as AMP is cached and preloaded by Google on SERP, and the Google tag JS plus GA4 would live on that page?
That's a lot to unpack right there. Kelsey, shoot me a Slack message, shoot me an email. Happy to discuss further.
Okay. All right, here. Let's see. Nope. Okay, let's see. We got it over nope. All right, Chris. I mean, I want to know, like, I mean, the nature of the sites are like, you have, it's like classified. Some of the stuff are like user generated, right? Like, and like, I'm curious, like, how do you utilize all this content to work together? I mean, is there something strategy that you guys are doing like on page? I actually saw like some of your pages actually had, the most popular pages on the side, and you're creating that interlinking structure. What are some things that, you're kind of doing with all this user generated content? Are you utilizing that to like kind of power up certain things and within your strategy, SEO?
To an extent, we do have consumer reviews on vehicles on both sites, and those are specifically, that's all user generated. We go through them to make sure that there's nothing obscene or derogatory, things of that nature. But yeah, we use those on like year, make, model pages, where a consumer wants to go and like understand if that vehicle will work for them. And having that user generated content really helps the end user identify if the vehicle works for them and their needs, depending on what those are.
I'm curious. I mean, because you actually put out commercials. I saw that little. You have an Auto Trader commercial out there, and I'm curious. Like when your brand team, when they put out videos like that or commercials, do you see like an increase in like brand SERPs, or does it help you with your SEO? Like in any way, do you see like an increase in brand SERPs, or do you think it helps? Or I'm curious. Like what's your take on outside advertising from SEO, doing your SEO, helping your SEO?
I'll take all the advertising, all the eyeballs I can get, right? Brand searches do increase when we see more ads, or at least the commercials. But click-through rate on branded searches is relatively high anyways, no matter what industry you're in, that I found. But yeah, they do help supplement.
I got it.
A lot.
Okay, if someone wanted to start, I mean, Auto Trader is a monster, like millions of pages, and I don't think it's out. I mean, but the type of site is pretty much, sometimes like maybe like it's not necessarily classifieds, right? You have reviews, or is it it's a classified or Auto Trader? Yeah, right. I mean, if someone wanted to start something similar, I mean, there's no way they can compete with you. But I mean, like, what are some tips? Like, hey, you know what? You want to start a review site? Pay attention to these key things.
Pay attention to somebody else that's not our strategy. No, I'm kidding. If you're going to start a review site, really just focus on the end user, right? Google's really pushing that way. If you try to focus on monetization too quickly, or like getting a ton of backlinks, like it's just not going to be successful. I've had issues before where clients bought domains that had huge backlink profiles, but they were junk and they got hit with the penalty.
Got it.
Unpacking that and fixing that took about a year to get through.
Wow.
But yeah, focus on the end user, write quality, intent-based content. Don't just write stuff to write stuff. It doesn't work.
Love it. And Melissa says, get a huge team.
That works too.
All right. This is my I mean, if anyone else has questions, please ask it while I ask my last question for our interview here. And then Chris, I asked this to all my SEO professionals that come on the show. If someone wants to get into the SEO industry, what are some advice that you can give them to get started in SEO?
Consider your life choices. No. I would start reading a lot. Find somebody that's in the industry. Definitely start to network with people. There's a lot of online communities even through, Facebook or Reddit. Start getting connected, and then build a website. Go to WordPress. You can probably get hosting relatively inexpensively for a year. Build the website, see what happens. You're going to learn a lot through that process, and then try to get into an agency. But don't expect like huge money when you first start. It is definitely a process when you're green, right? And I really like the approach of going for an agency or getting into an agency first, finding a mentor there, and just spend some time there, just to learn and do things and watch. And don't be afraid to do the grunt work, all the keyword research, or, putting Excel reports together, which I'll do any day of the week.
And
continue to read and read and read.
You got it. Nice. Here's a little bonus question to add on to that, because how can someone actually get better at Excel? Topher asked, what would you recommend to someone getting Excel? Because hey, I'm curious too. I want to get at your level.
So I've been fortunate enough to have a few people in my life that are really good at Excel. And, I think I even have an Excel book for dummies back there somewhere that I have never read. But honestly, all I did is I went on YouTube. I found a couple of people that, were definitely engaging to watch and provided good information quickly, and also provided some of the sheets that they were using. And I could go through and unpack that stuff and look at how I could take that and what they were doing and translate it over to my needs.
Got it.
And I did that a lot.
All right. Just do it a lot. And you don't have to read SEO for Dummies. Just get some YouTube videos, find that entertaining person. Do you remember that person's name? If someone can make Excel entertaining, I'm curious to know who that person is.
Oh, I'd have to look it up. I can definitely send it to you. I can drop it.
All right, we'll put that in the description, guys. And okay, let's see here. All right, so how can anyone get a hold of you? I want to sign off here, and how can anyone get a hold of you, and where can they find you if they have any questions, if they want to maybe ask you to be their mentor, whatever it is. What can someone do to get a hold of you?
The best way is to do it on LinkedIn. Just send me a note on LinkedIn. Yep. I'm not on social media a ton, which I probably should be. I'm focused more on watching Excel videos.
Nice.
But yeah, LinkedIn is going to be the best way.
Nice. All right, everyone. Be sure to hit up Chris Nichols on LinkedIn. It's spelled, just search him the way it's spelled on the lower third here. And Chris, I'm going to sign off, but please hold on as I just say bye to everyone, please.
Sure.
Okay. All right. All right, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. This is the last one for 2020. Thank you, Chris Nichols, for being my last guest of 2020. We had great engagement. You brought in a lot of people. Thank you. You want to make sure you come back on January 8th with my special guest, SEO legend Rand Fishkin. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when this happens. I want to send my best wishes to Bill Slowski of SEO by the Sea. Get well, brother, and happy holidays, and have a happy new year, everyone. See you next year. Check out this little music video that was created by some SEOs.
In my Christmas jammies, gonna check my rank. Mother!
Maliki motherfucker is the thing to say on a bright Californian day. That's the Google greeting that we send to you from the land where you must pay. Here we know our wallets will be green and bright. The new update destroys rankings overnight. Maliki motherfucker is a wise way to say Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO Video Show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!